Well, I guess you were not expecting to see me here today like this. Um, Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shay. I do content about horror movies, horror video games, horror media, and theme parks because I live in Central Florida and I feel like it would be a crime not to. And if you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. So my plans kind of fell through for this week's video. Don't worry, it's still coming, but just to give you a little bit of an update, I was supposed to be releasing my mouthwashing video, which is a horror game. Played the game a couple weeks ago, recorded the whole footage, only to look back at the footage while I was getting ready to edit it and find that the entire game was lagging to the point where nothing was matching up with what I was reading on the screen. If you know the game, you know that it's a lot of dialogue that you have to read, and I was doing voiceovers for the sake of the video and it was not matching up to what was on the screen. So I will be re-recording it. I wanted, for transparency, I've already played the game, so I've already beat it. I know how it ends. Before that, I already knew how it ended because I'd watched other people play it. So when I make my video, it's not going to be necessarily super like YouTube gamer content. Like, I'm not reacting to the game. It's not the first time I've ever played it. It's just really I'm gathering footage for the video, because the video is going to be me doing a synopsis and an analysis of the game, like many other people have done. So I'm pushing it back to next week so I can give myself some time this weekend to not only play the game again, but then also record my voiceover portion of this. But I kind of made a promise to myself that I would get a video out every week if I could help it, and I didn't want to just completely like abandon that in the month of January. And there was something I wanted to talk about in regards to horror that I had been seeing a lot of controversy about, and I wanted to sort of give my 2 cents, even though technically I already did, but we'll get to that. So I decided, I was like, well, I'll scrap the mouth-washing video for this week and I will do an impromptu, unplanned, unscripted — most of my videos are unscripted, let's be honest — video about the Until Dawn movie that's coming out. Now, I did write a blog post about this movie on my blog, which I will link below. It's finally fixed. Again, I had to redo it with some help and have some other eyes on it because I didn't like the way it was looking, and I think it looks a lot better now. But I wrote a blog post about it, and I initially was kind of not complaining about it because at the time when I wrote the blog post, they hadn't released the actual trailer. They only released like a little like Sony snippet where the people who were working on the movie and like they talked to the people who were working on the movie, and then they showed like some clips from the movie. So I wrote that blog on that at that time, and then the next day they dropped the full trailer and I watched it and I kind of updated the blog. And I have opinions, and the reason why I wanted to make a video about it is because, of course, the very first thing I see on YouTube is a ton of negativity, a lot of very angry videos surrounding this movie, and I'm gonna come on here and be the person that's going to give the defense for this, because I can already see where this is going with this film, and I'm already a little angry at the audience because I know this is going to end poorly. So let's rewind, because some of you guys might not even know what's going on. You might not even know what Until Dawn is. Maybe you do, that's why you're here. Maybe you share the same opinion as me. Maybe you are on the side of everybody else, because I seem to be in the minority about this with this movie. I seem to be in a severe minority. But if you don't know what Until Dawn is, it is a video game that came out in the mid-2010s for PlayStation. It was made by Supermassive Games. They do games that are very story-based. So basically, the entire game plays like a movie. The only thing is, every choice that you make as the player affects the ending. Now, this isn't there, it's not an original idea. Before that, From Software, I believe it's from, am I getting it backwards? I think I might be getting it backwards. Okay, I was right. Supermassive Games. That took me so long to find out just to see that I was right. Okay. Yeah, so Supermassive Games. So From Software is another company that made games similar to this. You've probably heard of Heavy Rain. Definitely probably heard of Detroit Become Human. It's like super popular. And Telltale Games also had games like this as well, the Walking Dead series, although I do believe that the mechanic didn't influence the endings of the game the way that Until Dawn is influenced. And Until Dawn became an incredibly popular game, especially on YouTube, because it is a very, very creepy and well done horror game. So the basic premise of Until Dawn, just to kind of speed run the video game, is that there is a young man by the name of Josh Washington who invites all of his friends up to his parents' mansion on a mountain. The year prior to the events in the game, which we do play in the opening, both of his sisters, Hannah and Beth, go missing after a prank was played on Hannah by some of the other kids who are invited back to the mansion. During the time when they leave they run away from the mansion, something happens. We don't really get to see too much of it at that point in time, and both girls are now missing. So now Josh has lost a good portion of his family, and in order to heal, part of his therapy is to bring his friends back to the site where his sisters disappeared and sort of, I guess, relax and unwind and sort of remember his sisters. The cast of characters is actually quite large. Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. It's Sam, Jess, Chris, Mike, Emily, Ashley, and Matt. I believe that's all of them. I believe that's all of them, because then the 8th one is Josh. So there's eight kids. I believe it's evenly split, 4 boys, 4 girls, and yeah, it's a big cast of characters. They're also actually played by actual actors in real life. Sam is played by Hayden Panettiere. Josh is played by Rami Malek. Super cool little caveat is, and not that they're the only game that does that. I mean, we had a game with Elliot Page and Willem Dafoe. We've had games with other actors, so it's not entirely uncommon. However, that was like a big deal because a lot of those actors were pretty hot at the time and pretty well recognized, so it was cool to see them in a video game. And what made this game so special, at least for me, I'm not going to speak for the entire gaming community, but what made this game so special for me was the fact that there were 2 twists. So of course, since it's a horror game, the whole gang is at this mansion in the mountains during a snowstorm, and while they're there, creepy stuff starts happening. There is power outages, people start disappearing, and there's just a lot of really scary moments that go on. Eventually, it's revealed that there is a killer in the house, and you are trying to evade him throughout the entire part of, like, most of the game. You're trying to evade this killer. You're led to believe that this killer is just like some random guy that came in. He puts some people in like saw-like traps almost. Josh and Ashley get stuck in, well, I should say some people. Poor Ashley was in 2 of them. Josh and Ashley are stuck in this trap where Chris basically has to choose which one he wants to kill. A little spoiler, it always picks Josh, regardless of whether you pick Ashley or not. It always picks Josh. And then later on, there is another challenge which reveals the true nature of what's going on. So during this challenge, Chris and Ashley are tied to some chairs, and there's a gun, and Chris has to make a decision whether to shoot himself, shoot Ashley, or the third thing you can do is shoot nobody. So he can pick one of those 3, and I will say this: picking Ashley will screw you over later in the game. Just so you know that picking Ashley will screw you over. I learned that by accident when I hit the wrong button. I screwed myself over in the other part of the game. But after you pick whomever you're going to pick, regardless of what you pick, it's revealed that there are no bullets in the gun. The gun is a dud, and the whole thing was a very elaborate and kind of messed up prank. Orchestrated by Josh to get back at the people who caused his sisters to disappear. So he's the serial killer. Nobody actually died. Everybody's fine, except that they're not. Because there are 2 characters, Jess and Mike, who are actually exiled to a cabin away from the mansion because of the fact that Mike used to date Emily and it was causing a lot of tension. So they're exiled to another a private cabin. However, while Jess is trying to seduce Mike and getting angry that he's not really accepting her advances, she's dragged out of the cabin by some unseen force, basically, which later on is revealed in terrifying fashion that there's Wendigos in this mountain. And to sort of add insult to injury, one of the Wendigos is Hannah, Josh's sister, and you know this because you see a tattoo on the Wendigo that Hannah also has. So now that the whole gang thinks, okay, well, the whole thing was a prank from Josh, he was just screwing with us, but then people actually start disappearing. And part of the game mechanic is that you can kill pretty much every character in the game. You have to think fast, act quick, and do the best you can to save everybody or save as many people as you can. Except I will say this, as much as I kept trying to end Emily because I couldn't stand her, she seemed to be the only character I couldn't actually kill. And I think they did that on purpose because they know how infuriating of a character she is. So they're like, we're gonna make her the hardest character to get rid of. She's very hard to get rid of. In fact, most of the time when I played through, she was sometimes the only character that survived, and it made me so angry because I couldn't stand her. But yeah, so the game became really beloved amongst the horror community because of the twists, the gameplay, and the fact that it felt like you were watching a movie. So as you can imagine, of course, producers and productions companies started to eye possibly making an Until Dawn movie. And I'd heard about it like years ago, but I never really saw them go through with anything until recently. Actually, last year was the first time I had heard any whispers that they were officially casting for this movie and they were going to start shooting soon. And then they announced the cast, they started shooting, and we were getting an Until Dawn movie. Yay! Except for me, I am really weird about video game movies. I think most gamers are. Especially horror game movies tend to fall flat. I don't even want to talk about how Capcom has pretty much handed every single production company the Resident Evil story on a silver platter, and yet no one can get it right, and they're always bad. I don't care what anybody says. I know a lot of people love the original movies that came out in the 2000s. Those movies are garbage. They're nothing like the games, and it pisses me off because I'm like, half the characters are fridged or thrown to the side so Alice can take the lead. And who is Alice? Nobody cares about her. I don't care about. Maybe diehard fans of the movies love her, but I don't care about her. She's not in any of the games. Why should I care? But then there's also there's also game movies and stuff that has translated really well. Of course, we know the Last of Us TV show did really well first season. Second season comes out in April. I'm thrilled about seeing it come back, but I'm also, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you've played The Last of Us 2, we know what's about to happen, and I'm very anxious to see people's reactions to it because the discourse around this game was already terrible. I'm very afraid to see the discourse around the show. The Last of Us 2, The Last of Us is a good show, and then I personally love the Silent Hill movie. I don't care that it's not exactly like the original game, and I know someone's gonna say, well, they said it was supposed to be like the original game. I don't care. The whole thing about the Silent Hill movie that I love is that it could be viewed as another version of Silent Hill, because everybody's Silent Hill is kind of personal to them. I know there's a ton of arguments. Maybe someday I'll make a video defending that movie, because I feel like so many people hate that movie and hate on that movie, and it's actually a really solid video game movie if you take away the fact that it doesn't follow the original game beat for beat, especially because Silent Hill can be viewed as something individual to each person. Anyways, but that's a good movie. It's one of my favorite movies. It was probably my entire personality in high school. Like, I was so obsessed with it back when we had MySpace. I'm dating myself. I mean, you guys should already know how old I am if you've watched some of my videos. But back when we had MySpace, I used to actually have my header image was the Silent Hill image when Rose first gets to town in the movie. I had that as my header image, so I was pretty deep into that movie. So video game movies are always hit or miss. I mean, I liked the Super Mario Brothers movie. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I liked the movie. I thought it was cute. It was fine. But Until Dawn is an interesting thing to say you're going to make a movie off of, because Until Dawn is already basically a movie. It's basically a movie with very minimal gameplay. And I mean minimal gameplay. Most of the time you're just sitting there watching people talk and then occasionally having to hit like a button to make a decision. And there's some quick time events, but most of the game is pretty much just listening to conversations. It's a movie in and of itself. And that's how Supermassive games are. Like, all their games are pretty much like that. They're like movies. So when they announced that they were making an Until Dawn movie, I thought, well, this doesn't really make sense because it already pretty much is a movie. It's just a playable movie. It's like an interactive movie. It has famous actors in it. It has people that are recognizable, and on top of that, it's played like a movie. So when I first saw the teaser, I was a little bit put off by it because they did say in the teaser that they were veering away from the story that we knew in the game. And for me personally, that's always a hit or miss sort of thing. When you start taking liberties at stories that people really love, like whether it's a book or whether it's a video game, when you start taking liberties, you run the risk of really pissing off a lot of people. And we'll circle back around to that. But I'm the kind of person, here's the thing, I never want to see anything fail. Unless it's like made by somebody who's objectively a terrible human being, or it's like based off of something that's really, really garbage. Like, if they decided they were going to remake, and I know this would never happen, but if they decided they were going to remake a Serbian film in the US, I'd probably really want that to fail. Like, that, I would want it to go away. But other than that, I don't usually want things to fail. I always go in rooting for everything, and I think it's kind of a weird culture we've cultivated where people automatically want things to fail because it's not living up to their expectations. And again, I'll get into that a little bit more later. So I didn't really want it to fail. I looked at the trailer and I thought the trailer was pretty cool, or the teaser, and I thought the teaser was pretty interesting. Then the actual trailer dropped. And at first, my first reaction was kind of the same as everybody else's. This is a very weird take of Until Dawn. And it's not Until Dawn. But as I was watching the trailer, I was like, me personally, I don't really care. It looks good. It looks good. I was like, this is one time I can say I don't care that that it's nothing like the game that I played. Mostly because I own the game. I can pop it into my PlayStation at any point in time and play through it. I don't need to watch the game in movie form. I don't, because I could pop it in and play it at any point in time. So I don't feel like I'm losing anything. And I'm like, this is an interesting take. So basically what the movie is about, separating it from the game, and if it's done right, this could be a really, really awesome movie. Okay, so the movie's about a group of kids who goes to a cabin in the woods because one of the girls' sisters has gone missing and they don't know what happened to her. When they get to the cabin, they encounter basically a time loop where in each time loop they die. And they have to figure out clues so they can survive, I gotta say it, until dawn. And it's kind of cool because what they're doing is they're taking the butterfly effect mechanic and applying it to a movie. Kind of like the movie The Butterfly Effect, which is literally a movie. They're taking that mechanic that was really cool in the game and applying it to a movie. That's the first thing. The second thing that makes it really cool, this movie is switching genres every time a new time loop starts. So you've got slashers, you've got ghosts, you've got eldritch monsters, you've got viruses, and you've got freaking Wendigos. I had heard they were not going to do Wendigos, but you've got Wendigos. So I was like, this is so cool. So they have, at one point, it looks like a found footage style horror movie. And I love that they're switching the genres. As someone put it in the comments of the video, it's like Happy Death Day and Cabin in the Woods had a baby. That is what it looks like. Happy Death Day I haven't seen yet, but I've heard good things about it, and I love Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods was one of my favorite movies of the 2010s. These two movies being molded together and then kind of creating this new movie that is based off of a popular game, kind of inspired by that same game, but a completely different retelling, just sounds so fascinating to me. And if it's done well, I mean, David F. Sandberg is not a bad director. Granted, he ruined his own short film by making it a feature-length film, and then making the monster that literally still keeps me up at night sometimes less scary in the actual feature film than it was in the short video. If you've never seen the Lights Out short video, go watch it. That monster at the end is freaky. She looks nothing like the one in the full feature-length movie. I don't know why he changed her design. Her design in the original video is scarier. The movie was like, oh, that just looks like a crusty woman. The other one was just really creepy, especially because it just came out of nowhere. That smile, no, I'm not going to talk about it because then I'm going to not be able to sleep tonight. But regardless, he is a good director, and I do trust that he will do well with this film. So I'm excited for Until Dawn. I think it's probably one of my most hyped this year. However, and this is going to be one that I'm going to have to run to the theaters to see immediately, because I already know, I can see it coming. A lot of y'all are going to go in just to be haters. Just simply to be haters, because you are mad that you're not getting the Rami Malek and Hayden Panettiere fronted Until Dawn mansion in the mountains, snow covered Until Dawn. Even though the majority of y'all own this game on PlayStation, you can fire it up and play it anytime you want. I hate to say that, but you can do that. I understand. I'm willing to hear people's perspectives and understand where they're coming from in the sense of the way where, you know, maybe this is your favorite game and you really wanted to see it exactly as is, adapted exactly as is. My whole thing is we've cultivated this culture, right? Where while I'm not thrilled with a lot of the remakes, the reboots, the reimaginings, bringing something to life from a book or a movie or a video game or a different piece of media, while I'm not necessarily thrilled with that way of doing things, there are some times where it works and where it does well. And I think when you're adapting something that is a video game that plays like a movie, it does kind of make sense to not adapt it in the exact same way. Because again, this is something that people can pick up and play. You're giving the audience a different perspective, and a different view. Also, I believe that there was problems with Supermassive Games and the actors that they had in the game. I believe there was like legal issues, so that might also be another factor as to why they diverted away from that storyline, because maybe they don't want to drag that out of the woodwork. They just want to like focus on something new. You know, I don't know, I'm just talking out of my butt right now, but I don't think there's anything wrong with reimagining the story. I really don't. I don't think there's anything wrong with reimagining the story, and I don't want it to fail. And the reason why I don't want it to fail is because, not because I wanted to get the exact movie on the screen that's on the game. In my opinion, a game like Until Dawn can be adapted into something else. It can expand on the universe. It can be a different way to tell the story. I think that that's an interesting take on it. For many of us who played the game, there's not much you can do with the story that's going to make it interesting. In my opinion, I was very not interested in seeing an Until Dawn movie. I mean, I'm being completely honest. When they announced that they were doing an Until Dawn movie, I said, why? It's basically a movie. It's basically a playable movie. Why are they doing an Until Dawn movie? So for me, seeing that they're doing this Until Dawn movie and they're changing the scenery, they're changing the settings, they're changing the characters, and they're making it this sort of like ever-changing horror story, I'm excited about it, because we're not just getting the same copy-paste movie game that we got in 2015, I think is when it came out, or 2014, maybe it was 2014, I don't remember. We're not just getting the same copy-paste, like, oh, we're gonna put the exact same thing you guys played and we're gonna put it on the big screen. We're getting something a little bit different. But again, that's my opinion. I know there's a lot of people who are mad about this, and the reason why like I said, the reason why I wanted to make a video is because I feel like there was a lot of people making videos about how pissed off they are that they're not doing the exact game. I keep seeing the title, what did they do to Until Dawn? Why did they do this? What's wrong with them? Sony messed up. Sony's gonna lose money. And I'm just sitting there thinking in the back of my mind, why do you already want this to fail? Because you didn't get the exact thing you can play on your PlayStation? Because you're the only, to say this, you're the only one. Gamers like me and probably you watching this are the only ones with attachments to this story. We're the only ones with any attachment to the story. And while it can be infuriating and insufferable when film adaptations come out and they're nothing like the game, think about how popular the Resident Evil movie franchise was, and it was nothing like the game. As much as I don't like the Resident Evil movies, they have their own audience. Why? Because there are thousands, millions of people who will never pick up a controller and play the game. Never touch it. They will never look at it. They will never think about it, but they'll see the movie and they'll go, oh, that's actually kind of cool. And they'll still never go and play the game. I know people who knew nothing about The Last of Us. They never watched one gameplay. They never picked up a controller, that sat down and watched The Last of Us and it became their favorite show. Did they go and play the game? No, they don't care about the game. They don't want to play the game. And that's fine, because it's the same as book to movie. There are a lot of books that are adapted into films that I will never read. Not because they're bad, but because I don't have a desire to read them. Like, if I've seen the movie at this point, I'm like, I'm not interested in reading a book about it. Now, if someone tells me, oh, the book is worlds better than the movie, if the movie's bad and the book is really good, then sure, I'll go ahead and I'll read the book. But there's a lot of stuff that's been adapted from a book to a movie that I've never even touched, and I probably will never touch. I've never read The Exorcist. Why would I read it? I've seen the movie, seen the movie twice. And I mean, I read Jaws, but but again, there's a lot of books I've never touched that, have become film adaptations. And it's the same thing for people who aren't gamers. There are a lot of people that are going to go see the Until Dawn movie that are never going to touch the game. They either maybe don't like horror games, maybe they can't play them, they get too much anxiety, or they just hate gaming in general. That's not their thing. They might go see this movie and love it. Why do you want to ruin that for them? Because you're not getting what you want? At some point in time, wow, that scared the crap out of me. It is raining. It's been raining all day here, and it's like the windows started shaking. That scared me. I'm not trying to be like a jerk, you know, because I understand disappointment. I understand when you're looking forward to something and you're disappointed. I understand that for some of you guys, maybe you were really excited that this was becoming a film and you really wanted to see it exactly as you played it, and now seeing that it's not going to be like that is really disappointing and it breaks your heart. For others, I can understand maybe you already had low expectations for this and it just confirmed it by doing that. I completely understand and I respect that, but I also want you guys to stop wishing that things would fail because it's not what you want it to be. Because at the end of the day, someone's gonna go and see this movie. I mean, who knows? The movie could suck. You know, the movie could suck. I'm going in with an open mind, and I implore everybody else to kind of put 2015 Until Dawn in the back of their minds and try to watch this movie for what it is and see if it can pull off what it's trying to pull off, because it sounds incredibly ambitious. It sounds like it's going to be a hell of a journey to experience on screen, and it definitely sounds like something that could be absolute garbage if done improperly. But I'm willing to give Until Dawn a chance. I'm willing to see if they can pull off what they're promising. And am I sad that we're not getting the exact story? A little, but I'm not as sad because, again, I know the game still exists. I can play the game. If the movie does end up sucking, I can just play the game. And I hope that I hope that people who are upset about this, if you are upset about it, I hope that you choose to skip it. Or if you're gonna go and try to give it a chance, and watch it, try to give it a chance. Try to go in with an open mind and hope that you'll enjoy it. We're at least we can say one thing. Sony is not lying to us about what they're doing with this film. They've already made it very clear that it is not the Until Dawn game. So we as consumers have our choice whether we want to sit through something that isn't going to live up to the expectations of what we want to see, or if we want to give the movie a chance and see if it's any good with what they're doing. I know a lot of people are still going to go see it and they're going to still hate it and they're still going to say negative things about it. I know, and I'm not mad at it. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I hope that my only hope is that everybody goes with an open mind, even if they end up not liking it, because I could end up going and I could end up hating it. But I just hope you go in with an open mind. That's all I'm saying. Just have your mind open. Don't go in already ready to hate and ready to knock it down. And if you walk out of the theater and you're like, yeah, that pretty much was exactly what I thought it was going to be, it was garbage, that's okay, because it happens. It happens. But at the very least, you gave it a fair shot. And that's, I guess, all I'm trying to say, is because there's already so much vitriol and rage. I can almost see this movie being review bombed before it comes out, because there's so much vitriol and rage towards this decision that Sony's made. So I'm really hoping that people who do choose to go see it just try to have an open mind, try to give it a fair shot, and then if they don't like it, they don't like it. That's totally valid. Like I said, I might go and see it and I might hate it. It's one of my top anticipated movies of this year. So I'm excited. There's some good movies coming out this year. I really want to see Hard Eyes. And there's another movie coming out called Companion, which I'm iffy on because it's from the same producers of Barbarian, but I know it's just the producers. And eventually you'll get my Barbarian hatred story at some point. Of course, we've got 28 Years Later. I'm excited about that, and that's going to be cool. There's another one coming out called The Woman in the Yard, which looks interesting. And then we're supposed to be getting FNAF 2 this year. I don't know if that's actually going to happen because they just started filming it, but we're supposed to be getting FNAF 2 this year. So I'm excited. There's some cool stuff coming up. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this video up because I don't really have much more to say. The only thing I am gonna say here is that this whole video had a point aside from just talking about The Last of Us. No, I'm talking about Until Dawn. I have a website now. I have a blog. I know I talked about it and I had it linked for a while in some of my other videos. That blog no longer exists because, like I said, it was not up to snuff. And now I have one that is, and I'm proud of it, and I'm gonna continue posting there. The reason why I'm advertising it is because I'm probably gonna post there more often because it's a little bit easier for me to do quick reviews on things that maybe I don't feel are like full worthy of a full video, and get news out faster. When horror news comes out, I can get it out a lot faster than if I have to sit down and make a full video. So I'll leave the link in the description to the website. You guys can go check it out. There is an article about Until Dawn on there, which is pretty much reiterating what I just said. So yeah, check that out. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go and try to stay warm because it is kind of cold for Florida, which is not normal. I hope you guys are staying warm wherever you are and you're taking care of yourself. If you're not watching this in the winter, I hope you're staying cool. Yeah, socials, find me on Instagram, on Threads, on Blue Sky as Creepy Critiques. TikTok still exists. That was a plot twist. Not really. I saw that coming. That's why I was making jokes about it before. But TikTok still exists. I'm on TikTok as Creepy Critiques. I don't really use social media all that often, but every now and then I'll pop on. You might see some photos of my cat. She's sleeping back there. She's being very well behaved tonight. But yeah, you can catch me on there, but mostly I'll be active on my blog. That's where you'll probably see me the most. And I really am going to try. Gonna hit the ground running this weekend and get mouthwashing done for you guys and out, because I'm so excited to do this video. You have no idea. And I know it's gonna be long, and forgive me already before, because it is gonna be a long video. I'm just really excited to do this. I need to get this hyperfixation out because it has been the hyperfixation for about a month now, almost 2, and I need to get it out of my system. And after that, I don't know exactly what I'm going to be uploading yet, because I'm going to be going to MegaCon. I might maybe do a little recap of that. Not a vlog, but a little recap of how MegaCon went. We'll see. I'm really excited about that. I went last year. I had a blast. I'm excited to go this year. I'm sure I'm gonna have a blast this year. They've got some crazy guests this year. I mean, like, some guests I would never have seen coming. I mean, Mike Flanagan is going to be there, and I can't tell you how tempting it was to get an autograph from him. I cannot tell you how tempting that was. I was very tempted, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it unless no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do it. But it was tempting because Mike Flanagan is one of my favorite horror directors of all time, and the idea of meeting him and getting to just tell him how Haunting of Hill House literally was a cultural reset for me would probably end my life. I would be so happy. But yeah, no, I'm excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Gonna be there with my family. That's gonna be it for me. Like I said, I'm gonna wrap this up, and yeah, thank you guys for joining me on this weird rambly video, and I will see you all with another creepy critique.